What is up, everybody? SNMV here, bringing you a deck profile for my DDD deck for the November 2015 format. The deck isn't, in a lot of ways, really good right now. It's playable, but it's not really consistent or, it's just not at its highest potential right now because we don't have Night Howling, Lilith, Alexander, and the other one, the Synchro or Fusion, I think it is. But without any further ado, let's just get right down to the deck profile. We run 3 of the high scale DD Savant Kepler, 3 of the low scale DD Savant Galilei. We run 3 of DDD King Abyss Ragnarok, Oblivion King Abyss Ragnarok. He works as a somewhat low scale, and as well as he revives things from the graveyard when he's summoned as a monster. So he's really good for that in that sense. And he's just like your go-to guy to go for in most cases if you have a Galilei and Kepler in your scales, because his effect that brings monsters back from the grave is really good, especially if you have another Abyss Ragnarok in the graveyard. So you can go into King Kali Yuga, which is your go-to Xyz in the deck. You play a lot of cards to sort of like get to him quicker because he basically just like negates everything on the field, and he's a 3500 attacking beast. And when I say he's a beast, I don't mean that he's literally a beast-type monster. I mean, he's just, like, a really good guy to go into. Other than that, we go into 3 DDD, I always forget his name, Rebel King Leonidas. That rounds up the Pendulum monsters. For the non-Pendulum monsters, we run 3 of DD Baphomet. He lets you manipulate the levels of any DD monster other than himself. So if you have, for instance, let's say a Leonidas on board or something other than him, you can just change their levels, modify their levels to become a level 8 or a level 4. So that way you can get to King Kali Yuga or Caesar a lot more quicker. Then we run 3 of Swirl Slime. He's like a polymerization for DDD monsters, sorry. So other than being a polymerization, he also works as sort of like I don't know a card that reads this, but maybe like Photon Lead, sort of, for any DDD monster. So by banishing him from the graveyard, you can special summon any DDD monster from your hand. So that's always like really useful in most cases. Other than him, we run 2 DD Necro Slime. He works as a Miracle Fusion in the graveyard by banishing him. And if you have, for instance, oops, wrong card. Let's say that you have Swirl Slime and a Necro Slime in hand, you can go for D'Arc using Swirl Slime and Necro Slime from the beginning, and then once they're in the graveyard, you can use Necro Slime again, or use Necro Slime's ability now to Miracle Fusion using Swirl Slime and himself, and now you have 2 D'Arcs on the field. So that's always really useful. So, other than those guys, that rounds up the monster count, which is 20 for the moment. There'll probably be more once we get some of Lilith and Night Howling in the deck. But until then, we're just running 20. Next, we go into the Dark Covenant cards. So we have Dark Contract with the Gate. It's your searcher for the deck. So you just play him, and you get to search for any DDD monster in your hand or no, from your deck. But you have to pay 1,000 life points to actually use him. So it's 1,000 every standby phase. That's kind of a setback, but you do run things like the Arc and Contract Laundering in this build. So that way you don't have to take the damage whenever you would take it. Oh, and also Galley can return any contract card or DDD monster. So that's always another option that you can do. Then we run the polymerization, another polymerization for the deck, which is Dark Contract with a Swamp King. So this is basically like it's both Miracle Fusion and Normal Fusion. You can just use it whenever you want to. But the only setback is like Dark Contract with Gate. You have to pay 1,000 life points during every standby phase. Other than that, we run 2 Mystical Space Typhoon, which is self-explanatory, to pop someone's pendulum or pop your own. Or just like basic negation. If you have like destruction of spell and trap cards. You have 2 Wavering Eyes. The Wavering Eyes are used to pop your own pendulum scales in your opponents. And then you can search for a pendulum monster. You can banish one of your opponent's cards. You can deal them 500 damage. And then you can also search for the other Wavering Eyes if you haven't already used it. If you have a total of 4 pendulum cards when this thing pops all of them. Then we run 1/1-for-1. This lets you bring out Kepler, because Kepler can bring out a DDD monster. No, a Dark Contract card whenever he's normal or special summoned. Then that rounds up for spell cards. So now we move on to the trap cards. We run 2 Contract with the Witch. This basically allows you to pop anything on the field if you basically discard any DDD monster, or I think it's also a Dark Contract. Yeah, you can also send a Dark Contract card from your hand to the graveyard, and that lets you destroy anything on the field. But other than that, it also gives your Fiend type monsters, which is all the monsters in this deck, 300 attack power boost, which might help you push for game. But just like all the other Dark Contract cards, you take 1,000 during each standby phase, so we try not to run too many of them. We run 2 Dark Contract with Errors. This basically works as a trap stun, but it's a continuous trap card. And it's also a Dark Contract card, so another 1,000 damage during each standby phase. But it negates all trap cards both in the field. No, that's it, actually. Only in the field. So that's actually pretty good. We run 2 Contract Launderings. Sorry, the camera was kind of like bugging out there for a second. 2 Contract Launderings. So this basically works as sort of like a Heavy Storm for all Dark Contract cards. You destroy them all and then gain 1,000 for each, and then draw a card for each destroyed. So that's always like unbelievably good for when you're running low on life points. And then also when you need to sort of like draw into something when you just don't have anything else. Then we run some virus cards in here, actually. We run 2 Deck Devastation Virus. We run Deck Devastation because it works sort of like a minuscule version of a Crush Card Virus. And it's really good for the upcoming meta because this will get rid of, what's its name? Cosmo Farm Girl. As well as some other, like, pesky Magispector stuff. I saw on a forum the other day, and I thought, oh, that might be good to run in DDDs, so I just went for it. Then we run one Eradicator Epidemic Virus. This was better last format when you had stuff like Necros and I don't know, Satellar Knights and Shaddolls running around, because you could call spells and you get rid of all of your opponent's options to go into like anything Necros and anything Shaddol. And then for Satellar Knights, you can basically call traps and everything that was trap related, so like Oasis of Dragon Souls or Call of the Haunted or Satellar Nova Alpha would just be like destroyed automatically and they can't use it anymore. And excuse me. And it would work that way for up to 3 turns. So like you check their hand and make sure that they don't have anything in there that would be spell or trap, and you just get rid of them all. So that's always good. And lastly, we have Solemn Warning. It's just for, it's solemn. Why not run it in any deck, basically? This will probably come out for the new Solemn card once it gets released here in TCG land. But that wraps up the main deck. As for the extra deck, it's looking a bit sort of like, well, I wouldn't say that it's not good, but I wouldn't say, or actually, let me rephrase that. I wouldn't say it's not bad, but I wouldn't say it's not good either. Or, yeah, whatever. So, the reason that it's not good right now is because we don't have that many DDD monsters in the game. And that means for the build that we're running, we can't really run anything that's not DDD in the extra deck because of Kepler and Galilei. Because Kepler and Galilei have the ability the effect that destroys everything on the field that's in between their scales. Once they switch their scales at the start of the standby phase. So that just means that your monsters will automatically be destroyed if they're not a DDD monster. So we can't really run anything until we get Newton and the Copernicus here in the TCG, and that won't be for maybe like 3 months at best. But yeah, let's see, we run 3 Duodon King Kali Yuga. We run him because he's like the beat stick of the deck. He's a 3500 attacking monster, and he negates everything on the field. You can also detach an Xyz material to destroy all spell and trap cards on the field. And after that, you can detach another Xyz material to, if any Dark Contract cards were sent to the graveyard, you can set it back in your spell and trap card zone. So for that, he's just like really good. Other than him, we run 3 of DDD Wave King Caesar. He's really to be honest, I just run him because he's a name. I really would run him at 1 if we had some more DDDs, but since we don't, we'll just stick with 3 for now. And the last of 3 that we have is DDD Oracle King D'Arc. Because DDD Oracle King D'Arc is in fact the heart and soul of the deck. And this is because she can take any effect damage that you would be taking and instead have that replenish your life. So that just makes it really good for like if you're running low on life points, you can just like bust her out. Or even at the beginning of the game, you can just like bust her out using Swirl Slime or any of your Necro Slimes, or If you have a contract with the Swamp King out, you can use that as well. And you can just, like, bust her out. And from there, you can just, like, activate any amount of Dark Contract cards and just use them as however much you want. But, yeah. That makes up the deck profile. I hope you guys like, comment, and subscribe. And I'll catch you guys next time. See ya!